Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be putting together a couple of video articles. So let's go ahead and just read this without further ado. And this was October 26, 2015. A new perspective. When looking at the sun, one sees a tradition of information and learned science layered within the knowledge of its luminescence. But all of this is way off. The sun is not multiple thick layers of elements stacked upon a small iron core. It's the exact opposite. The sun, and almost all the stars for that matter, are solid iron cores with a thin layer of decay chain. When looking at the star, the bright, fluid surface is a thin layer atop the solid iron core. As the iron decays, the outer layer falls back from iron through the elements to hydrogen. As the elements get lighter, their potential speed increases. Light is the final product, along with all the elements that bathe the planets with the top layers of the elemental decay chain, including hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. What is the takeaway? The sun is a giant magnetic ball of energy, solid in form and highly energetic, stable and eternal. Long live the sun. So that is a new perspective. That article I wrote in October of 2015, and I just wanted to go ahead and read that so that way you have an idea of where I'm coming from when I read these other articles, for example, Energy in the Sundering Sun, and some of the other articles that I wrote in 2015 that I'm going to be turning into video articles. There was an evolution in the way I was doing my research while I was documenting and actually working on the Right Side of Dark Energy project. And I was coming up with my theories and discoveries, and I didn't quite have everything formulated. So I went from basically understanding physics the way that mainstream science talks about it to then actually doing the research and doing the equations and realizing that there's some major errors in what mainstream science is talking about. And that led me down a path of discovery to coming to the conclusions that I've come to. If you've watched any of my other articles, I talk about how the stars in the universe are not giant balls of gas. That's pretty much what mainstream science says, that almost all stars in the universe are giant balls of gas. I came to the conclusion that they are actually solid in nature. They crystallize because of the way pressure and relativity works. As they compress and become denser and denser, they actually solidify. Once they solidify, they get dense, even more dense and more massive. They actually start to crystallize. And then there's a whole different set of quantum mechanics and equations that is occurring at the very center of these stars. And if you've listened to any of my other videos, you know I've called the cores of the cosmos, which is the stars, the planets, the moons, the protoplanets, anything large enough with enough mass for its core to basically crystallize into what I call a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer. Now, I just made a video on this. The name of the video is The Sun's Corona and the Time Dilation Field. Go ahead and watch that video if you haven't watched it already. I really talk about how the physics that mainstream science is saying and the way it's really, what is really occurring, I get into that and I explain why the cores of the cosmos are naturally occurring crystal core quantum computers, okay? Because of the pressure, the time dilation, and the physics involved, the stellar physics and pressures involved, actually, as you get closer and closer to the center of the mass, time slows down. So there's less and less time and there's less and less heat. It gets to the point where the center of the mass, there's literally almost no time and there's no heat. And then if you know anything about quantum mechanics, which I explained this a little bit in the video, because you get to the 0 point, basically to the 0 degrees Kelvin or the 0 point, there's a flipping occurring and matter and energy they basically create a new dimension. And that's the actual definition of what quantum computers are.
We are also a big supporter of very basic science. And that includes trying to understand the basic particles of nature and the structure of the universe. It turns out theoretical physics addressing that looks at things like higher dimensions. I will note that actually we do work in parallel universes.
Wait, what? Do you really?
Is that
Yes.
These articles, I wrote them in 2015, and I want to put them on the channel to give you an idea of the progression that I was making as I was doing my research and coming up with my equations, how come I came to the conclusions I came to. And this is right in the point where I went from understanding the universe as the way mainstream science understands it to starting to come up with my own revelations, realizing that, hold on a second, stars aren't giant balls of gas. Based on physics, they actually must be compressing into a solid state, and then from there they must be crystallizing. And then I started to understand quantum physics and quantum computers, how they're talking about quantum computers and the Bose-Einstein condensate, how matter, as it compresses, it goes from being individual points of energy and it starts to turn into what is called the singularity, okay? It all starts to merge into one single structure, one single quantum structure. Once I started to look at that and realize that, then I realized, okay, I've heard people talking about how the stars could be conscious, okay? And I started to think about how the universe had to have some level of consciousness guiding all of the massive structures in an organized fashion. And then once I started to look at quantum mechanics, I started to realize that there is an intelligence level to the mechanics of the cosmos. And I started to wonder, how could they be put together? And then, when you start to realize that the cores of the cosmos are naturally occurring crystal core quantum computers, which means that they have intelligence. Once you start to realize that, then you start to look at the overall structure of the universe and start to understand why things fall into the positions that they fall into. For example, the spiral galaxies. Everywhere you look, wherever there's a mature galaxy, it's almost always a spiral galaxy in some form or another. And then you have to start to understand, why is it behaving the way it is? Why are the stars swinging around the center the way they do? And then you look at dark energy and dark matter, and you start to understand that the way the galaxy is rotating, it rotates like a wheel and not like a vortex. And then you start to ask yourself, well, how can the stars on the outer edge of the galaxy be spinning at the same rate compared to the stars on the inside of the galaxy? And then you start to realize that they're actually consciously moving at a very defined speed to maintain an overall structure. And then if you look at this overall structure, you start to realize that they're doing this because of efficiency. And then once you start to realize that they're spinning around in a very specific way because of efficiency, then you start to realize there's got to be an underlying reason. And then you realize that the faster you move, the heavier you get. The stars closer to the center of the hub of the galaxy, of this spiral galaxy, the stars closer to the hub are moving at a certain speed. As you move out away from the hub, you start getting faster and faster and faster. And as you increase your velocity, you increase your energy. As you increase your energy, you're able to take that excess energy and convert it into matter. So then you start to realize that motion of matter equals gravity, which equals energy. And then because of the quantum nature of the universe, motion of matter equals gravity, which equals energy, plus about 10%. The 10%, based on a lot of different equations, it is a quantum number based on a quantum leap theory, where the universe, you don't have things in the universe slowly drifting from, say, 1 to 2. In the universe, if you divide the universe into 10 states, the universe energy levels have a tendency to jump from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10. And if you scale that to 100, you can have energy. You don't have energy jumping from 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. You have energy levels jumping from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, from 1 to 10, from 10 to 20, to 20 to 30. This is, the power of tens. And, and then also there's all kinds of other esoteric knowledge where you've heard, I'll give it 110%, that equals 11. And so if you think about it, motion of matter equals gravity, which equals energy plus about 10%. You already take the 100% and then you plus the 10%. Okay, crank it up to 11. And then there's the whole idea that the universe itself is 10-dimensional and that there's that 11th dimension, which equals expansion. Basically, because of the quantum nature of the universe, the energy level increases constantly throughout the entire universe by 10%, okay? And then that gets into the whole concept of 9 is contraction, 10 is your reference point, and 11 is expansion. Matter is in a multi-dimensional phase change process that produces an excess of energy and therefore matter. So as matter moves through the cosmos, because it's moving over this dark energy field, or you could call it a scalar field, you could call it the 0-point scalar field, the Higgs field, the piranha, the firmament, there's a field that matter moves through. Because it's moving over this field, that produces literally an electromagnetic charge. It creates an excess of energy, And the cores of the cosmos being extremely complex crystal core quantum computers, they're actually able to capitalize on that excess of energy and convert that energy into matter at their very core. They're actually able to take the excess of energy, and from the inside, they are able to grow from the inside out. And as they grow from the inside out, the elements on the outside of their core slowly start to convert from extremely dense state up through the elements. From iron, they slowly decayed through the base elements to hydrogen. At the very surface of the star, the hydrogen level literally starts to decay, and as it moves away from the inner core, from the time dilation zone, it literally is able to leave the surface of the star, and as it moves outward, its time literally increases. It literally is depressurizing. As that matter depressurizes and expands outwards, it's actually able to increase its time, and because it's able to increase its time, it's able to increase its energy. And as its time speeds up, the energy speeds up, the motion within the matter itself, the motion within the atomic structure of the hydrogen starts to increase. The hydrogen's energy level increases. As it moves away from the star, its gravimetric variance decreases, so it increases in its energy potential, and it decompresses, and it expands outwards. And as it's expanding outward, it literally decays into the dark energy field. Well, first it decays into the electromagnetic spectrum and literally converts from hydrogen into light. And then once that light leaves the star and it pushes outwards and creates the bubble around the star, which we call the heliosphere, once that light then leaves, it slowly converts into lower and lower energy states of light until eventually it literally decays and it becomes more space. Okay? So literally the matter in the stars converts to light energy. That light energy, the electromagnetic radiation, slowly moves outwards, and eventually that light energy decays and creates space itself. Now, the interesting thing is that light energy carries with it all the information of the process of every single molecule that it's in contact with, all of the information of the interactions, the chemistry interactions, from the atom itself all the way down to the smallest parts of the atom. Every single part of the atom is giving off an electromagnetic vibration. All of that information, okay, you might have heard of the information paradox, where information doesn't get destroyed in the universe, it's always maintained in some form. Well, it's the electromagnetic decay of all of the matter in the universe that is literally the information that is then absorbed into the universe itself and turns into dark energy. Dark energy is literally space itself. So the cores of the cosmos are glowing and growing. Not only are they growing the core themselves, they are glowing and growing the space in which they occupy. Okay, so they are literally growing not only themselves, but the space they occupy. And that's the whole magic of the universe, is that it's not just the cores growing themselves, they also grow the space they occupy. So you have both the macro, which is the very large, the cosmos and the universe itself as a whole, and then you have the micro, the actual cores of the cosmos, and then within the very center of the cores of the cosmos, you have the quantum computer, or the black hole, or the singularity, which literally leads to an entire new universe. And inside that entire new universe is the potential for the creation of an infinite amount of new universes. And if each one of these universes is doing what this universe is doing, which is glowing and growing, then that means that you have an infinite potential of infinite expansion at infinite points in the universe. So you have a multitude of infinities, and that is the Majestic Crystal Universe. By the way, I'm going to put this particular talk in my playlist, The Majestic Crystal Universe. I definitely recommend you watch that playlist from beginning to end, because I talk about some very fundamental things like what is gravity, what is dark energy, what is quantum gravity, and then I explain this stuff more and more, talking both scientific and philosophical and esoteric and even religious concepts, so definitely take a look at that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I will have more content for you soon. Thanks for watching.